Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to the Rabbi Avi Show. Please support us and help spread the word by liking, rating, following, commenting. A great way to engage with us and help build our community is to join our Patreon page. That's at patreon.com/horizontal media. There you'll be able to engage in conversations with the community and receive special content. One last note before we get started. This very special episode was recorded remotely and we faced some technical difficulties in the process. So please bear with us as the audio quality is compromised compared to what you may be used to. With that, and without any further ado, let's get to the interview.
Shalom and welcome back to the Rabbi Avi Show. Today we really are going to dive deep into the complex and crucial relationships that we Jews face around the globe and even a voice shaping the Jewish world today. What would it take for you to leave everything you know, a comfortable life, a familiar culture, and move to the front lines of Jewish history? Our guest today did exactly that. Rabbi Yaron Buki is the grandson of Holocaust survivors who left the sunshine of California for the raw, powerful landscape of Katzrin in the Golan Heights. He was driven not by comfort, but by a conviction that the ultimate fulfillment of being a Jew is found only in the land of Israel, a place where we are not just scattered communities or kihilot, but one unified nation, Goy Echad Ba'aretz. But Rabbi Buki isn't a rabbi who stays in the study hall. He's what I would call a rabbi with calloused hands, deeply involved in the most fundamental aspects of the Jewish life cycle. He serves the community from the joy of birth as a mohel, a ritual circumciser, to the sanctity of our kosher laws as a shokhet, a ritual slaughterer, and to the final act of reverence as a member of the Hevra Kaddisha, the sacred burial society. His own family is a beautiful microcosm of the ingathering of the exiles. His Ashkenazi roots, exiled to Eastern Europe, have joined with his wife's, whose family was exiled to Yemen. Together, they are raising their children on the front lines, living with the constant psychological tension of being near the borders of Lebanon and Syria. In our conversation, we explore the ritual pool of the land, the challenges of unifying our diverse people, and how to find strength and normalcy amidst the trauma of war. He offers a powerful vision for what a rabbi can and should be in Israel today, one with dirty hands, a clear vision, and an unbreakable link in the chain of our survival. It is a profound honor to welcome to the show a true pioneer and a deep Torah soul. All right, Rabbi Yaron Buki of Katzrin. So happy to have you here on the Rabbi Avi Show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Let's just jump right into it. You are the grandson of Holocaust survivors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
And you left a comfortable life in America to make Aliyah, to move to Israel. And you told me before that for you, the mitzvah of living in Israel was paramount. Can you explain the spiritual pull that led you to feel you couldn't be a Jew fully while living outside the land? Or I don't know if that's the best way to say it. You tell me.
So, being a fully Jew, it's very interesting. We're in the book of Dvarim, and we learn, and the Gemara teaches us that our Bible was supposed to only be 6 books, right? But we didn't get the message, so we added on Shoftim and so on until we got to Malachi, we got to Divrei Yamim. So, but there's only supposed to be 6 books, the 5 books of Moses, and the end of the story is going in the land of Israel, which is Yeshua. In Dvarim, you see how, well, we say that Dvarim is Moshe Rabbeinu going over the teachings of the Chumash, and you see how important the land is. So much, like, it's so important. Not only that, it's like we have 3 covenants with God, which is, the first one is the land. God's like, go to the land. And afterwards we have the Brit, and eventually we have the Torah. Those are the 3 major Britot that we have with Hashem. So, I don't know exactly, it could be the spiritual Gilgul, with the push of coming back to the land. It could be the time period that the prayers of our ancestors of wanting to go back to the land. I don't know. I don't see the hidden. I just have a feeling, and sometimes I go with it. Now, aside from the fact of reading the Chumash all the time, the land, we know that the majority of the mitzvot of the Torah are tului. They are connected. They are dependent. Thank you. They are dependent on being in the land of Israel. We can't fulfill the Torah outside of the land of Israel. So it's not a feeling of mine. It's God says, most of the mitzvot that we have is for the purpose of having a relationship and a connection to Hashem. So from that perspective, it's not that's a different from the feeling. Like the Torah itself, the 613 is based in Torah in Israel, but me, why me? I have loved our people, and one of the reasons I think that aside from it just being who it is that I am, the Holocaust was a big aspect of my life growing up, and I always had a pull to be connected to our people, because I was taught by my grandparents that we have to be a voice for those that can't speak. Their message is very important. And that world that was destroyed, Hitler won, right? It's not like, oh, we survived, yes, but Hitler won. Like, he wanted us out of Europe, and the only place that we are in the Eastern world is in Israel. You might have dots of Jews everywhere else, but the 2 main places that you have in the Western world is America, North America, and in the East is Israel. We were wiped out we were cleared out of the other places in the world. So the whole connection to the land is, I think I mentioned to you last time, is really the place where we can unify and be unified. I mentioned it last time, but I'll say it again because it's something that I meditate upon a lot. So there's the statement, there's a sentence that says, Goy Echad Ba'aretz, that we are people in the land. Outside of the land, that means that we're not a people. So what are we? We're kehilot. You have different communities. And how is that expressed? So in your shul, you might have a vad. I don't know how your shul works, but let's say that you have a vad, and people sit and they make a decision, and they decided, and you have bylaws for your shul. But when you go outside of your shul, those bylaws kind of don't have any effect on any other shul. So you have your community, you have your kehillah. And that's how it is outside of Israel, generally speaking. Whether they're bigger kehillot or smaller kehillot, it doesn't matter. Once you leave your community, that's it. But in Israel, you have fascists, you have socialists, you have anarchists, you have religious, you have non-religious, you have people who hate the Torah, Rachmana litzlan, you have those that love the Torah, I shouldn't have said that, but anyway, so you have all these different people, and they make a vote, and they make a decision, and it affects all the different communities, right? It's, we, by definition, inside of our own land, we affect each other, even if our lifestyles are completely opposite from each other. And we're bound by it, and we become a people inside of our land. And that is an expression of Avat Yisrael, which is also the tikkun of the destruction of the Second Temple, right? Sinat Chinam is Avat Chinam, And doing that is to fight for the society to survive. I like Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach about hugging people on the street, but some people are not as able to do that as Rabbi Shlomo was, right? What we can do is, instead of, okay, I can't hug people on the street to stand up, but I can fight to make sure that this society, the third commonwealth of our people, survives and thrives.
So that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing by being there. Mm-hmm. And so you're not part of kihilot, you're part of a people and a nation together, part of this achdut, this unification. So and this is surely the opposite of what has happened to our people. Your family is your core family that you've created in Eretz Yisrael is really a microcosm of the ingathering of the exiles, because, and I'll use your lashon that you like to say, that your family, Rabbi Buki, was exiled to Eastern Europe, and you've joined with your wife, who comes from a family who was exiled to the southern part of Arabia, to Yemen, to Taiman. What does your combined family story tell us about the challenges and the ultimate divine beauty of becoming Goy Echad Ba'aretz, one unified nation at home in our land?
I think it's so interesting. I'm a lot luckier because I'm a bridge nation. So, meaning like I mentioned before, Ashkenaz was destroyed, but I got to see the people who were raised by Ashkenaz, who had 1,000 years of culture on their shoulders. And I got to breathe in the air that they breathed. So I got from that generation, but I'm also a part of a new generation, which is different. Like, I was not brought in a world where we didn't have Eretz Yisrael. We didn't have the 6-day war. Like, we have the 6-day war. I don't know what it means to be scared in my house on Christmas because some guy's going to go ahead and beat me up because I'm a Jew, I don't know that. That's not me. So, meaning I also came in contact, my aunt also is from Yotzei Teiman. And I went to Israel when I was younger. And I saw Jews who looked different and acted different. And I saw them and they were of me. They were my people, even though they were so different. Like, what you mean? What you mean you don't know what chrein and gefilte fish is? Rav Yosef, he's a great sage and stuff like that, but Rav Ovadia Yosef, but he didn't affect my life, not with any disrespect or anything, but like, I didn't hear of him until like I came to Israel. I was older. I'm like, oh, yeah, there's a whole world out there. So the normal thing that a couple has to do, which is a lot of, after the honeymoon is over and after like knowing who it is that you are and your spouse is, that comes to a point of acceptance of the other, and that's how you become one, right? So there's a lot of that with regards to our people also. Now, my wife and I, we come from different histories, and she comes from a proud background, and I come from a proud background. But if you're proud, then there's no place to grow because you filled up the cup. So there has to be a celebration and pride of who it is that you are, but there also has to be a level of acceptance that other people also are proud of where they come, and to make it work together by learning who it is that they are, to be able to understand their song, their ancestor song, because now I'm teaching my wife's ancestral song to my children, because that's them too, So, I mean, we don't eat gefilte fish with schug. I do, but don't tell anybody. So, but there's things that, you can understand perspectives. It's beautiful, by the way. One of the negatives about being in Israel, okay, is that I think being a minority gives you a perspective. It gives you a perspective of the world that helps you interpret the world in a humble manner and also in a witty manner. You have to be witty when you are a minority. So it allows you to like go outside of yourself and see what's going on, and you're like, oh, I'm weird, I'm different. Okay, why is it that I understand this person's culture, I understand their language, I have to communicate with them to be able to survive. And that's also one of the negative things I think about the loss of learning, Jewish learning today, is that you have to know who it is that you are. If you know who it is that you are and you have a good sense of who it is that you are, and you are a minority, which we're not in Israel, then what happens is it allows you to be able to see concepts differently. You're able to be able to like have a true sense of who it is that you are, understand that there are other people who have different concepts, and you don't have to accept it. And it allows for conversation also. Like when you are a minority, you can say, this is what I understand it, and this is the way I understand it. You understand the way that you understand it. I don't have to kill you, you don't have to kill me, we can work together. And a lot of times it helped us Jews in the sense, because other people, when you're the majority, you see the world as it is. But it's not the way that it is. Nobody has given you a different perspective because you're the one that's speaking all the time. So because you're speaking, you don't have a chance to learn like the other. So also with regards to us being different inside of like our differences inside of Israel, even though we're a majority people and it doesn't give us the opportunity, but we did have that for a long time, of just being able to hear our point of view and understand that there's a different point of view. Maybe I'm off. I have to maybe meditate upon it a little bit. But excuse me. How is it that we can go ahead and defeat people who want to murder us and offer them a piece of land? What type of people does that except for people who can like see the situation from a different person's perspective, Whether it's healthy or not all the time, it's not. It's like being anything that is too much, going in one direction or another is never healthy. You have to take the middle road. And being, I think, a minority, we're still a minority. Like, we're surrounded by Arabs, but I'm talking about within Israel, So I think that it's helped also, like being able to understand that there's different perspectives, right? So there's a different Judaism. It's not a different Judaism, but it's a different. We're both eating ice cream, but they were eating chocolates, and I was eating coffee, And there's this other flavor. Oh my, okay. Oh, it's also tasty. I like coffee, but it's as long as we're celebrating that that 95% of our Yiddishkeit, of the Judaism, is the same, and you are proud of the 95% that is your Yiddishkeit, so you can go ahead and appreciate the 5% that is a little bit different.
Also different in terms of different flavoring. You could choose between Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, but the flavor that you seem to be drawn to, at least in this chapter of your life, is the Golan Heights, sure. Which is a very maybe controversial place for some people, but you were drawn to the Golan Heights. Yeah. What did you find in the Golan that you couldn't find elsewhere, and how has living there with this, microcosm, combined family, beautiful family, how has living there shaped your identity?
Oh, the Golan. I am of the Golan, and the Golan is of me. So the story was like 15 years ago, we packed our house, and we put it into a shipping container, and they said that we had 6 weeks until our furniture came. And we had 2 little girls, and my boy was in the oven. My wife was like 6 months pregnant, something to that effect. We rented a cart and we started off in Gush Dan, which is the center, see how it is. One of the things that my family started off in Israel and they left before I was born. So I met Israelis before. I would go to Israel and they're a lot rougher than I am, you know? So I'm calm, but I also have like an explosive side of myself. So, but Israelis are not explosive, they're intense, right? So if you're an explosive person around an intense person, then it kind of like expresses it kind of causes like to be always in a state of being bubbly. So I knew that I needed not to be in a dog-eat-dog world. I needed a little bit like my space, you know, from California. It was Steve Martin in LA. There's a movie that he made where they were laughing about people from LA. He was like, I'm going to my neighbor, and he got into his car and he drove to his neighbor's house. You know, we drove like things. California is big, and we need our space. And I was in Gush Dan, and it was very like alive and thriving, and also too much action. So I went up to the Galil, and the Galil is beautiful, like the land. The song of the Galil is very beautiful. There's very mystic, you know, it's very quiet and stuff like that. We went to the desert, and it's dry and hot. It's not like humid. We were just checking out different places, and we were getting tired, you know. We were on the road for a while, and we got to the Golan, and I'm like, California? How did I get back to California? And I love California. I really appreciate California. From Redding and north, it's like mountains and forests. It's a beautiful state. I feel blessed that I was born and raised over there. So when I got to the Golan, I'm like, oh, this is California. And we looked for a place where the education focused more on love of the kids, rather than just like giving education. And the more that I was in the Golan, the more I was feeling it. Like the Golan is still like, I know other people don't like that. Like Nefesh B'Nefesh, I was like a representative of, because we were the first Go North family to move to Kutzin from outside of Israel to Kutzin. One of the things that I appreciate is it's so raw that you can still like theoretically die from the elements. You know, like we have wild animals, it's not like culture, like a civilization isn't there. And that spoke to me. Like it quieted things down. I didn't have to deal, like being an immigrant in your 30s, it's not easy. It's not something, you're changing your whole entire life. Lech lecha, you know, it's like really, it's not just like, okay, I won't be able to go out to the pizzeria, I'll make pizza at home. No, it's a lot more than that. It's a different, you might speak the language even, but the way that you're expressing it is different. The way that the government works is different. So being in the periphery, it allowed the quiet to be able to figure things out, and it reminded me of California. And as you quiet down and you start to settle, you feel the power of the Golan. Like there is a quiet power in Oz of the Golan. According to our tradition, Reuven and Menashe and Gad were on that side of Israel. And Menashe is the firstborn. Reuven is the firstborn. I'm not sure how God fits in, but we'll figure it out one of these days. But I don't know. The firstborn, there's maybe because we're younger, so a lot of our Oz, our strength, our life force goes into raising the firstborn. There's a quiet strength inside of I notice in my firstborn compared to my other kids. They're all beautiful. They all have their strength, but there's a quiet strength, and you feel that quiet strength inside of the land of the Golan. There's everybody, like, you don't have to rush too much. And they're out in the wild. We have cowboys. It's just a nice place.
So there you are, like in this quiet, beautiful place that reminds you of maybe Northern California. Mm-hmm. And it's not the dog, like you said, the dog eat dog kind of place of some of the big cities in Israel, and it's not the dry desert. And there you are, and it's kind of surrounded by strength and beauty, and yet you were kind of, they needed you, didn't they? They needed you because you were telling me before when we were speaking that you really weren't interested in it, but they needed you on the Hevra Kaddisha, on the burial society.
Sure.
And you see, you become involved in that. You became involved. You next thing and I don't know if this is the right sequence. It became a shokhet, a ritual slaughterer, somebody who slaughters animals for our kashrut, for our kosher laws. And then most recently, you became a mohel, a ritual circumciser, which is another important aspect of what we have. What has this unique path and all these different areas that you've become involved? What has that taught you about the sanctity of the life cycle?
One of the things that's very important for me is not to be Jewish, not to be Jewish, but I am Jewish. So there's a lot of beautiful things that the Enlightenment gave to us, right? Just our perspective, the way that we see the world is good from the Enlightenment. We've given a lot. And there's quite a few things that are also sad from the Enlightenment. One of the things is our lack of respect of wisdom. Not worship of wisdom, but lack of respect of it. We don't chase wisdom anymore, we chase knowledge. So with regards to chasing after not being Jewish, which is the Enlightenment, let me take a step back because I was trying to get together. How is it connected to the Enlightenment? One of the negative things of the Enlightenment was to be a human outside, which, if we're using the Lashon of the Jews, to be a Goy outside, inside your house to be a Jew. So meaning that the Jew became a livush. It was like a clothing. It wasn't who it was that you are and how it is that you express yourself. And that's also very much important to me. Like the religion, I understand, is secondary to, like the religion is our adjective. Our noun is our peoplehood. It's who we are people. God chose our people. And after he chose our people, he gave us the covenant. After we got the covenant, we built our religion so that we can keep the covenant. Right? The Sayag Torah and so on and so forth is to be able to make sure that we keep this covenant. But the identity of being a Jew, to me, I want it to be as natural. And there's been so much assimilation with regards to the 2,000 years of being outside, of having to work so hard to be Jewish. And like, what is it? That's kind of like letting go and just expressing yourself as a Jew and not like having it as a livush, which the Enlightenment really put upon us. So a lot of things is being to have the function of a Jewish lifestyle, being able to just know and have it be a part of who it is that you are in the community that you are. We've compartmentalized Judaism so much that most people don't know about melicha, they don't know about salting meat before you eat it. Shechting, not everybody could be a shokhet, you kind of have to be a type of person. And even now, like when you go to a schlachthouse, to a slaughterhouse, there's some places where a shokhet doesn't check his knives anymore because he slaughters so many chickens, so he lost the sensitivity to check his knife. We need that. We are a nation of 10 million people. We need to eat chicken, right? But there's something that's lost in industrialization. And there's a spirituality. God is everywhere, so I'm sure that I don't want to take away from their spiritual journey, but I think that there is, again, I'm going to return, a rawness, like just like the Golan is raw. There's a rawness when you are doing the mitzvahs yourself. Every year I bake matzahs. Every year, like I have my oven, and I bake the matzahs that our ancestors used to eat. I don't have the ability to make the crunchy matzahs. I make
Of the Ashkenazim, really.
Sorry?
The crunchy matzahs are really of the Ashkenazim,
Right.
really. I mean, it's become that way.
Everybody everybody likes it. But yeah, there's most people buy that because it's a lot fresher. That's also something that people worried about, because it used to be that the bobbies and the aunts and the grandmothers and whatever back in the day, you would have that's what we did. We learned. I went to my elders, the ladies, and I saw how they would do it. So when you have the soft matzah, it goes bad fairly quick. So you have to make it before the meal. So you might have the grandmother and her two sisters, and one sitting in front of the fire. The other one is making the dough and mitasek with the dough. And the third one is checking that if anything falls, any dough falls, that she takes it and throws it right away into the fire. On Pesach, could you imagine people making matzah? No, who would think of making it
Yeah.
People would pass out.
That's the way to do it.
That's the way you're supposed to do it.
That's the way to do it. Right.
And it's fresh and it's good and stuff like that. But nowadays people are too afraid. They're too afraid of going onto the mountain that they go ahead and they hike in the valley. They don't want to even see the mountain. Okay, that's their way. But I fear God, but it's I fear what it is that God gave to us, not too many. I want to know these things. I want to know how to be able to perform the mitzvahs that Hashem gave to us. And each one of them allow you to have a spiritual revelation. In Torah, when I'm dealing with the meeting of the family when they're saying goodbye to their family, it's intense. It's very intense. Slaughtering animals is intense. I believe all of these are intense. It's like life, and these emotions that you have don't happen when you're dead, right? But when you're separated to it because you give it to the factory to do, you don't even get that, We don't even have our elders living with us at the end of our life. We put them someplace else, so we kind of created a environment where we're not exposed to the cycle of life.
And so you're embracing the cycle of life in terms of what you've been privileged to do in such a beautiful way. Which I think dovetails and fits very nicely with how you've told me you think of yourself as a rabbi on the battlefield, and one with dirty hands. You're not like that pristine rabbi on the bima,
right.
And you have this hands-on approach, whether it's baking fresh matzah on matzot on Pesach, maybe even, as the Harambam actually tells us to do in the Mishneh Torah, or whether it's, and by the way, for our listeners, you've been involved in acupuncture. You've been involved in so many things. You've got. Your hands are, I hesitate to say dirty like you described, but
dirty like David Amelech.
You're not, yeah, they're not, maybe you have some calluses, and you're building a community from scratch. You're also, you've become designated as a Rav of a Kihila there in Katzrin, and you're involved in the kosher way of life. Can you define for us your vision of a rabbi's role in Israel today, from your perspective?
Of a rabbi's role today. Okay, so I just want to give over what our ancestors gave. And so I can only understand it how I understand it. We have one Moshe Rabbeinu, and we have higher level rabbis, intense rabbis, and you have community rabbis, and even shul rabbis. So just like Yitzchak told to Moshe, he's you can't do it all, buddy. I don't know if he talked to him like that, but whatever. He's my boy, you can't talk to him, you can't do that. You have to give other people some jobs because you just can't, you're not God. So I do wish, it's very important for me, hypocrisy. I'm very, very allergic to hypocrisy because I see how much of a hypocrite I am. So and I acknowledge that I'm a hypocrite in the sense that only God's perfect. And to pretend that a person is, again, If your avodah is to believe that you're perfect, whatever, I'm not here to destroy anybody. But only God's perfect, right? This whole thing of chasing after perfection, to me, is a false God. It's a false religion. That's why God gave us, from the beginning, the whole concept of tshuva, because obviously the only thing that's perfect is God. Obviously, right? But the hypocrisy, there's holy hypocrisy, and then there's the other side of holy hypocrisy. So like, I want for people to say, this is what it is. I'm not there. I don't hold by there. Like, I'll give you an example. Pig is not kosher according to Judaism. According to the Torah, we say it's not kosher, right? And then we have some people who come along and say, if you give the pig a shower before, we didn't have refrigeration. People come up with these different ideas of why it's okay to have a pig. And to me, that's unhealthy. That's not holy hypocrisy. Holy hypocrisy is God wants for our people not to eat pig. I don't, but I'm just like speaking for this individual. I eat pig, but God says that it's not allowed and we shouldn't be doing it. To me, that's a holy hypocrisy, right? The person like that is not on the level, for some reason, I don't know. I don't know what the taste of pig is because it's been so long that I had it. But there's people need to accept their hypocrisy in the sense of, this is what God wants from us. And I'm not there, I don't do that, or I might not even accept it. I don't care. Like the God of Israel says, no, eat pig, but I eat pig because I really don't care. Is there a God? There isn't a God. Now, what's the basis? What's the core of that? I think it's very important that we have the same vocabulary as a people, so that we can communicate with each other and know what's what and what's not. Like I think I mentioned it before, you might say blue and I'll say blue, but I mean yellow and you mean green. And our friend, when he says blue, he actually is saying blue. But you think you're gonna, no, blue, and you're meaning something completely different. Meaning how many people are throwing out the word genocide today? And you're like, what is genocide? And then they even mean ethnic cleansing. And you're like, wait, hold on, ethnic cleansing, what's wrong with ethnic cleansing? It's called, you want to call it that, it's population change. The way that people call it genocide and the way people use it today, it's funny. Like, according to the way that people define genocide today, it takes away from what they did to our grandparents' generation. Like, England committed genocide against the Jews. Germany did, of course, but it did it a few times. Italy, like every time that they kicked our people out of their country, that's like, people are perverting words because it's more important for them to be right than for the society to be right, for there to be like a clear vision. And it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay for people to say, I'm not holding that level. I'm not holding, I don't accept that as a lifestyle. But that is the definition of the lifestyle. So I went off the day.
And how does that fit into the role of a rabbi?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is that I wanted to go to. I'm talking to people about thank you for getting me back on track. So people want to recreate the Sanhedrin. And like, you talk to a lot of people of what is the Sanhedrin. And you say, and they think that they're going to make sure that everybody eats the same kosher. And not only that, they're going to make sure that everybody's going to be like with a shtreimel, like what. That's not the point of what a Sanhedrin is. The Sanhedrin are called the eyes. Why do we have eyes? One of the main purposes of why we have the eyes is to be able to allow us to see what's in the future. It's not dealing in the minutiae, in the details. What the point of the Sanhedrin is to define the vocabulary. What does the vocabulary mean? What's the concept? How is it that our ancestors expressed it? And we don't live in the past. We live in the now. So how is it that the idea that they were trying to express, how is it expressed today? And how are we going to express it as a people? And therefore, when you say something, even though you might use the same word that our ancestors used it, learn how they used it and understand how we're using it today. So and the whole point is to make sure that to pass on Judaism for the next generation, to make sure that we don't fall into the pitfalls. They are more dealing with the marechet, with the framework. So the Sanhedrin are the people who define the education so that we're all speaking the same language. And how do we see that? It's very beautiful what I'm saying, but where is it coming from? So what's one of the first things as a religion that we did as a people? Like I'm going to define our religion, by the way, is us going into exile. And we created a framework to make sure that we didn't lose our identity and our covenant with God, which is the Torah. Okay? So one of the first essential things that was the first religious act was the Shmoneh Esrei. So our elders saw that we were being born in 127 different countries, like we learned in Esther, and we were starting to speak different language. You lived in Kush, you spoke Kushite, you were in Hodu, you spoke Hodu, whatever, and then we wouldn't be able to talk to each other. So what we did was we created not only the Shmoneh Esrei to say in Hebrew so that we're all speaking in the same language, but the Shmoneh Esrei is little capsules of the wants of our people. These are 18 wants that our people are praying for together, and that's unique to us. There's some things that are general, refuah, chokhmah. Some people don't care about being smart. But there's something specific about us that we first go into our land, and then that traders should leave, and that we should build Jerusalem, Mashiach should come. That is how our ancestors built a framework, built onto the framework, so that we wouldn't be mifuzar, we wouldn't spread apart and become different nations. And that's the essence. Now we're getting to Elul. I already gave an example, I'm going to give another example. I hope it doesn't cost too much. Back in the day, right, we blow the shofar, because we're getting into Elul. So you have Tekiyah and Tuah, right? So Moshe Rabbeinu was like, blow the shofar, you have to do Tekiyot, right? So he didn't say how to do it. He just said, I want you to blow. Now some people, they understand that it's supposed to be crying. And it seems like some of our ancestors, when they cried, they would go, that's how they cried. And that's what they felt was the essence of crying, when you finally express. Whereas other of our ancestors, they felt that the essence of crying was that part where you go, right? So one group expressed it with 3 blasts, another one expressed it by 9 blasts, and you had different communities. Some did 3 blasts, some did 9 blasts, and both of them were kosher. If you came from a community where you did 3 blasts and you happened to spend a Rosh Chodesh in that community where they did 9 blasts, you were kosher. But what we wanted to do was litiyached et ha'am. We wanted to make a connection of the am. And therefore, we do both. We have the 3, then we have the 9, and then we do the 3 and the 9. And that's really what it is that is in the essence of the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin is the top rabbi, and that's why I'm focusing on that. Because the point of each rabbi is, again, we are one people, we have one God. God is so great that the way that he expresses himself is different to each individual. 70 paths, there isn't 71, there isn't 69. Don't go crazy, and just because God's infinite, like Shabbatai Tzvi, he married a prostitute, which is true if you look logically. Shabbatai Tzvi made logic. But you remember how we said last time, you have to have a box to think out of the box. A lot of time, and that's one of the things that our ancestors, our sages taught us, why they didn't want people to learn Kabbalah too much, is because people were out of the box so much, you sometimes forget the box. And the Holy Baal Shem Tov, that was one of the beauties of him, is that he said you have to learn halacha. You have to do it, and you have to make sure that go crazy, fly out wherever. But the box, take the box with you. You have to develop the box. And I think that that is the point of what a rabbi is to make the achdut, and the achdut is the vocabulary of Judaism, that we all speak the same language.
Let's switch gears now. And you made mention of it really when you're talking about our enemies and even others, who ignorant people who are accusing our people of committing genocide, for example. Meanwhile, we've had a lot of trauma that has been of really everything we've done is a response to attacks from outside. We didn't start this conflict at all, and by way of the conflict, with all these terror proxies of Iran, there's a lot of trauma and PTSD that comes from it, from living under the bombardment, which you're kind of in one of the epicenters. You're not by the Gaza Strip, but you are up in the Golan Heights. You're right by Lebanon. You're right by Syria, and you're also in the path over. We've had different groups in Syria. We've had Hezbollah in Lebanon. We have our people trying to defend ourselves. All of this going on, and you're in the middle of it. Can you describe the psychological reality of raising a family on those front lines, and how you find strength and normalcy in the midst of that constant tension?
So every day God creates a new world. So you have to find strength every day. But build on what was, and you have to see what will be. So, like, we're just a chain. And okay, fine, it'll be a little bit of fluff. We daven for our children, and we daven for our children's children. And you haven't even met your children's children, right? But know that when it is that, I won't say the name of your kids, I don't know, but let's say when your oldest boy may be healthy, have nice children and stuff like that, and they'll have grandchildren, you actually daven for that great-great-grandson of yours, daughter of yours. Even though you don't even know that what they're, you actually daven, and your tefillot are them coming into existence. And what it is that you would daven now is going to be expressed by their existence. And it's true of you with regards to your ancestors. You are the fulfillment of the tefillot. How many generations of tefillot is it that we live in? Israel didn't come because we fought in 47, 48, 67. It came about also because of that. But that was able to come about because of us having the same vocabulary, davening for it, and also the tefillot specifically of our ancestors. So this chain is very, very much important. A person's not, it's not healthy to be by themselves. And God obviously was talking about a wife, but it's a little bit more than that. There's my great-grandfather, may his memory protect us. He was murdered in 44. He would say a person has three names. He has a first name, because if not, we'd be like monkeys. Ooh, get me this, ooh. He has a last name because the person can't be by himself. Like, you have to have a family, you have to have a people that you belong to, because you can't be in this world by yourself, which is very important. The last one is also important, but it's not connected to what I'm saying now. The third one is the most important name, and that's the name that you make for yourself. Because you can, okay. So the second one, to have a family name, to be of something, gives you strength when you're not strong enough to stand by yourself. So just sometimes seeing the big picture, all of us fall into the now. Of like, oh, my wife just had something, and I'm interpreting it, and I'm a kid and not respecting me, and my friend didn't look at. All of us fall into toxicity. But we get the reprieve of the healing of sometimes when we go outside of ourselves and we see the greater Quran, and we rejuvenate ourselves inside of that. That being said, it was I trust in the tefillot. I trust that God hears my tefillah, so He must have heard my ancestors' tefillah. But it's not easy being in this world. I have small, beautiful children. Some of them are bigger than others, and like I mentioned, when the missiles are falling, you can't freak out, because if you freak out, then your kids are not going to be in a good place at all. So you have to keep calm on the outside. And I lived in the Golan. It's not like Jerusalem. I'm not saying that it's peaches and cream in Jerusalem, but they had it 2 minutes. They could finish their coffee. I remember barbecuing, and I just had to leave the meat, and we had to run to the shelter and stuff like that. And just seeing your kids, how it affects your kids, is also very traumatizing. After the 10 minutes, when they allow us to leave the shelter, your little kids are like, I want to stay here, I want to play here. For you, okay, just be here, make yourself feel safe and stuff like that. The trauma and the panic that you see on your kids is really painful. And hearing their attacks and our response to them, that's not normal for human beings, right? We're half animal, half God, right? We have a body and a soul. Back in the day when armies were made with horses, they had to take these horses and have cannons and guns around them so that they don't freak out, right? So the animal part of us, we also, it's not healthy to have jets flying over your head all the time and having explosions all around you all the time. But then again, that's the now. That's the now, and you know that it's going to be for the good. It's a fulfillment of prayers. And it tweaks a person. I remember I went last year, it was the 4th of July, and we were in America at that point. Even, it's weird, even now, I went out to meet a cousin of mine, and you hear a bomb, no, it's not a bomb, you see where my head is. You hear a bang, and until you're wait, what am I doing? I'm in North America at the moment, what am I talking about, right? So you have these little reactions that your body reacts to, even though your mind knows that you are not there. So there's a disharmony between the mind and the body. But again, there's the beauty of our people. One of the things that even till this day, why it is that Zionism is so important, people say, oh, post-Zionism, we already have it. No. For 1,600 years at least, let's just say 1,600 years, the Gentile world felt that they had the right to speak for us. They told us who it is that we are, what it is that we are, what our God told us, what our prophets told us, how it is that we understood it, and why it is that we're pig-headed by not understanding. And we'd say, no, what are you talking? That's not what our God told us. And it's our God talking to us. What are you? And they're used to still do it till this day. Till this very day, they're still doing it. They're still.
How do you keep, as you say, keep calm on the outside when people are still talking for us like that? And you've called it before that you felt betrayed by that and by the outside world's reaction to what's going on in the war that we're still in, and how we used to know very clearly who our enemies were, and now it seems like Jews are a little bit confused, and more than confused. How is this? For us, how are we? How is this war different psychologically for our people today?
I was never raised as a victim. I was always raised as a survivor, and I believe that was one of the strengths of our people, is we were not victims. And in our society, we kind of celebrate the victim. And we do not really see ourselves as victims, right? I mean, I'm sure that there are some people who do, right? And because we don't wear the flag of the Holocaust, as being a victim, but as something that we survived. It's interesting, if you go to the Holocaust Museum in America, it's completely different than if you go to Yad Vashem. The story is different, right? Because in America, when you go to the Washington Museum, the point is to make you feel that you were there, like to make you feel oppressed, like the way that they have the shadows when you first get into the elevators, how everybody's crammed in. Inside of Israel, it's a little bit more traditional in the sense of the Holocaust happened, and now we have Israel, you know? So it's, both of them are fake and real, you know, both of them, but both of them have the story that they tell. So surviving is what allows a person to thrive. But there are lots of people that don't want you to thrive. They want to tell you who, like I was said, they want to tell you who it is that you are, and you can't be you, right? That's one of the whole, why Christianity makes everybody have to be Christian. Instead of like, believe in the one deity, but you, nation, figure out how you do that. No, you have to be Christian. If you don't do Christian, then that means that you're off of it. And Islam is very much similar too. We Jews don't believe in that. We believe God shows us. We're going to tell you that there's one God. You should believe in the one God. But figure out how to, your relationship with the one God. Don't murder, by the way. Don't murder, and don't be too sexual deviant, and create courts. Like, you have to have justice also, right?
And don't steal, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kidnap, steal, whatever the case. Yeah, right. You have to have dignity of the human being. We're all created in God's image. That's very important to a society. You figure it out. Don't take what you think is dignity of a human and put it on me or on your neighbor, right? So, like, to be able to recognize the other is also very important with regards to who it is that we are. I kind of got myself again into a little bit of a loop, and I'm going to have to bring it back to where it is that you are asking. With regards to how it is connected to today, I think that Europe is angry. They feel victimized that they committed a genocide against us, and they don't want to be victimized by that genocide. So what they do is they make us the genociders. They make us the Nazis. So the thing that is like a betrayal is that we pretended that the way that the world saw us changed after the Holocaust. We finally felt that there was some enlightenment, like that the ideals of the Enlightenment, and that people didn't see us as Jews anymore. Not the way that we define what a Jew is, but the way that they define what a Jew is. But it's come about that they still see us as a Jew. And they are doing everything in their power to be able to make themselves not guilty for what it is that they did to us and to take away from us. For 2,000 years they called us the Palestinians that murdered their God. And the Catholic Church, which is the biggest one out of all of them, is in Africa, Europe, and Asia, meaning the world. Fine, North America, South America, we'll put them to the side. The world identified us as the Palestinian people. And they told us that we don't belong in their lands. Now we are back in our land, and now they're telling us to get out of our lands, right? And that we are fakes. So I think that that's a little bit something. I don't think that it's so much different than what it was before. They do not respect, they talk one way, but they act a different way. They talk about allowing people to speak for themselves and speak their truths. But when a Jew starts to speak their truth, they call us liars. So, and I think that that's also healthy for us in the long run. Because we want to be loved so much, right? We want to be loved so much that we're willing to see, like, we have such a toxic, being in exile has been so toxic, being a minority so much that we want to be loved. Sometimes a woman who's in a bad relationship, in a toxic relationship, even kids, they look to be yelled at, they look to be hit. And I think that is one of the issues that we have today, is the difficulty of, on both sides, by the way, I'm sorry, Even Netanyahu, I heard him say something that was like, oh, okay, fine. Because people complain about him that he's not doing PR enough. And I heard him answer that. He said, we lost the PR war 2,500 years ago. I'm like, oh, that's a genius statement, right? There's a beauty and a truth inside of it, but you can't give up. You have to still give over the PR. You still have to talk and express, even though there are 100 million people and we're only 15 million. And if you're in a room, nobody's going to hear the 15 million. When you are stuck, or we can say 15 people versus 100 people, nobody's going to hear the 15. So the only people who are going to hear us Jews are hopefully the thinking people. And hopefully thinking people are moral people. And hopefully moral people are amidst people, and they're the ones that rise to the top. And we can work with those types of people. That's what I think.
I think it's more like, by the way, I think it's more like 15 million versus like 8 billion or something.
Yeah.
But yes, even more so. But when you're talking about all these concepts, you've learned so much, and you continue to learn. You're a student, I think, of Torah every moment. Your Torah is rich and beautiful and is constant, and I see how you've synthesized so much different kinds of knowledge that you keep weaving into what you're doing. So I want to just leave you with one last question, and for our listeners, in terms of learning Torah, what books have made a difference to you in your journey and on your journey that you would recommend to our listeners?
I wish I was that cool. So I wish I was that cool to be able. I'm gonna try to answer your question, but I want to do something. I'm gonna give it a little bit different. It matters less what it is that you learn in Judaism than it does that you learn. You choose something. Tired, not tired, raining. You take yourself your 5 minutes, 15, an hour a day, and you make that into your discipline, you make that into your meditation, because it doesn't matter what's coming out of your mouth, it's God's words. Like when you say Torah, it's God coming through who it is that you are. So even when you want to and you get excited from it, because God's infinite, it doesn't matter what you learn, you're never going to really get it. So what it is that you do get is amazing. So I think more than what it is that you learn, it's just learn. Like learn for the sake of learning, and make sure that you keep it 5 minutes to an hour, whatever it is that you can do. The books why, by the way, and I'm tying it to my shita, the way that I see the world, because I'm very, very much I love going back to our ice cream. The ice cream is more important than the flavor. Like, the flavors are kosher, it's good, eat it. You like strawberry, don't eat chocolate if it makes you sick. Just because it's continue with your strawberry, right? The ikar is just to do it. From my perspective, that's so I hope that is an answer, because sometimes I feel more spiritual, and I read the Sefer, the Yetzirah. I'm like, and then sometimes you feel all over the place and you need to get yourself back into order. So you read the Rambam. Like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing with my life. Sometimes just being frustrated at the Gemara, you're like, who are you talking to? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So, and obviously Hasidus. I love the Hillel stories of the sweetness of our teachers, of not refusing to be a victim because everything's God. That's very, very much important for our survival. That's not fair. I gave you like 4 answers. I'm sorry.
That's beautiful. Rabbi Yaron Buki of Katzrin, you are a beautiful soul and you are a beautiful Torah. Thank you for gracing us on the Rabbi Avi show. We pray that you will have many more blessings, and that they should be revealed blessings and not hidden blessings, and that we should prevail and continue to make the land a sweet place for all of our brothers and sisters.
Okay, yeah, that's all. Please God, I hope to see you all in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim. I learned shchita so that I can help the Kohanim with the shchita in the Beis Hamikdash. So may we have a nice, holy barbecue soon, b'mehera v'yameinu.
Amen.